Hi, I'm Cheryl Kagan, very proud to be the Senator for Gaithersburg and Rockville. Welcome to this week's edition of Kibbitzing with Kagan, brief conversations with people I find fascinating. My special guest today is Colorado Representative Brianna Titone. Thank you so much, Representative. It's really a delight to chat with you today.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So you are actually my first non-Maryland legislator. Nope, that's not true. I did Sarah McBride. Okay,
In
you
Delaware.
from Delaware. So
Yeah.
we're going to get to Sarah later. You grew up in the Hudson Valley, which is where I went to college, and you went right away toward in undergrad geology and physics, your graduate degree in geochemistry, which is cool sounding. What drew you to that? Is anyone in your family science oriented?
I am. My grandfather's brother was a physics professor, I think at the City University of New
Okay.
York, or at
Okay.
least that's what they're telling me. I
Okay.
don't know. I think he was probably one of the only science people. Uh, my brother, he went to school for a physician's assistant role, so he kind of was in that sort of
Okay.
sciency aspect, but that wasn't something for me. I was always just really a curious person.
Yes. Yes.
I love to learn things, understand things, and what I liked about geology, and it took me a long time to get the major because they forced me to do something.
Okay.
Uh, which geology covers everything. It covers chemistry and physics and biology and math and all the different sciences all in one.
Amazing. Well, we have a lot to cover, so I'm going to shift to uh, you decided to run for office and you were elected by just 439 votes in 2018. So, congratulations on that. Um, you were an openly trans candidate at the time. So, tell us about your first campaign. Was that a special challenge, or did voters not really care and they were more interested in your position on policy issues?
I didn't make it about my identity. I went to the doors and talked about the things they weren't getting from the current representation that they had. I emphasized a lot of my skills as a scientist, my history as a public servant in different roles of volunteering, and my real only thing that I ever said about being trans was at the caucus and assembly process that we have in Colorado. And the beginning of my speech was just to say, let me address the elephant in the room. I'm the trans person, and now let's address the elephant in the district.
I
And it
loved
was
it.
kind of like an icebreaker, and just to kind of get it out of the way, and let's talk about the real things.
Perfect. So I referenced Sarah McBride, who I think is amazing, and I read her book, adored it, and actually kibitzed with her a couple years ago, and now she is our first trans member of Congress. In what way has she served as a role model or inspiration to you and others?
I mean, there are a lot of the folks who have been running after me and having these tough conversations, breaking barriers in different ways is always something that we feed off of each other on those successes and the things that we learn. There's a small group of us who
Mhm.
are elected at that level, and we try to communicate regularly to say when there's something going on, how can we come together as a group to speak out against certain issues or for certain things. So
Yes.
we try to stay in touch a lot and share a lot of different ideas.
So we're going to get to a lot of policy ideas, but it would be inappropriate for me to not talk about the president. Donald Trump has just been so hateful and awful. How is that affecting your district, yourself, the community? Say anything you want. What's your biggest challenge with Donald Trump's policies and words?
Yeah, I mean, Colorado has been really good the last many years. I mean, since I was elected, we took all the different majorities in the Senate and the House and the governor. So we are able to pass a lot of good laws that are protecting the community. But
Yes.
that hasn't given people that nervousness and the apprehensive of what's going to happen next, and are these things that are coming forward, are they going to stick, and are they going to trickle down, and is the hospital going to be able to help the trans youth who need the
Yes.
services?
Yes. So his latest, a friend of mine called it gleefully cruel, which I think is so brilliantly said because it's not just cruel. It's like they're happy. It makes them joyous to be mean. Their latest policy is related to 988, which I've done a lot of work on with 911 and 988. I have to give a shout out because a lot of people still don't know what 988 is. So that is the suicide and mental health hotline. As a matter of fact, I might be able to pull up my little poster right here. Yep. There is a 988 press 3. And 988 Press 3 is for the LGBTQ community, and he has said that that will stop funding. In Maryland, we're going to be okay. Do you know whether Colorado is taking action?
We are trying to continue supporting financially whatever we can. Colorado has a lot of interesting financial difficulties, mainly about
There you.
tax policy that's been kind of haunting us for decades.
Yeah.
And with the taking away of all of the other funding, they took away school funding we were counting on getting. It's like I could go down a list of all these ways that
Yep.
they're not giving us money. And when that happens, when the state has to backfill, it becomes really, really challenging. But we are trying desperately to fund the things that are going to be the most impactful, and we're hoping that we can get some funding to that.
So let's take a quick detour. We'll come back to legislation, but talking about the fiscal situation, and Maryland has been ranked the number one most affected because we have such a large percentage of our workforce, of the federal workforce, lives in Maryland and consultants and all that. But you, a couple months ago, announced your race for state treasurer. So talk about, and you were vice chair of the House Finance Committee. Talk about your vision. But again, most of my people watching this are not going to be able to support you or vote for you anyway. So just talk about why you want to leave the legislature and run for state treasurer.
Well, I mean, it's not that I'm voluntarily leaving. We have term limits, and our term limits are 4 terms, and so I'm at the last term that I can serve in the House, and I have to find something else to do.
Oh
Uh,
man. Okay.
so, I feel that in the 8 years, well, which will be next year,
Yes.
I've really made a lot of big accomplishments in the legislature,
Yep.
many first in the nation policies. I've got a pretty good mastery of this process, and now I want to put those skills to good use in another office. This is an open seat
Yes.
because the term limit of the treasurer is
Right.
up, and you want to have someone in office who has legislative experience.
Yes.
And I think as a scientist, having a different perspective on things is been very well serving for me in the legislature because I can see things a little differently, and I that's why I've been successful with these new policies.
Yes.
And I think that that's an asset to this role as well.
So I didn't even look into that, and neither did my staff. In Maryland, we do not have legislative term limits because we believe that either the candidates or the voters can limit our terms anytime they want. And so it's really unfortunate that a thoughtful, educated, purpley blue state like Colorado would still have those. Well, good luck to you in your race. So now let's go back to your service in the House of Representatives. You are chair of the Joint Technology Committee, and this has been a time of such crazy growth. So talk about the latest thing that's on everybody's mind, which is artificial intelligence or AI. What is your biggest hope? What's the best use of AI, and what's your biggest fear?
Uh, I mean, there's so many great things that can come out of AI, efficiencies, crunching through information, and creating easily digestible material that we can use. I use some AI. I use Google Notebook LM when we have a lot of accountability committees, and I need to have this stack of reports that I can't fully read, and I can have the AI look at just those things, and then I ask it, what are the not telling me? Which is always a good question to ask because it goes through to see where there are inconsistencies or kind of dead ends in some of the statements that are made that usually indicate that I need to know more. And it's been pretty effective in getting me to ask the right questions during the hearings.
Interesting. Do you find technology committees, you've been were chair of the Democratic caucus. Do you think the technology issues can be bipartisan, or do the Democrats and Republicans have pretty different views?
I mean, it depends. It depends. Like with the AI law that we passed one of the first major AI policies, which was about algorithmic discrimination. So this is when
Yes.
the algorithm of the AI says that it favors one group of people over
Sure.
another, and it's not exactly like a human might do with our biases on
Mhm.
race or gender or something like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
It could be completely arbitrary and strange how it biases.
Mhm.
But when people have consequential decisions that are out at risk,
Like
you want to make
hiring.
sure that those are, yeah,
Right.
hiring, insurance, healthcare decisions, legal decisions, housing.
Yes.
Those are major things. You want a human to be intervening there. That bill, I don't think we had any Republicans vote yes on that.
Hmm.
When I ran my right to repair bill for ag
We're
equipment, only had
we're
a
getting to
couple
that. Yes.
Republicans on that one. Um, it's it's interesting. It tends to kind of follow a lot of the money that comes along with these major technology things, and if there's money to be spent in an election, it seems that some people are afraid to go up against those folks, and some people are not, and uh, you have to risk it. You have
Yes.
to go against them and see what they do.
So let's talk about right to repair because that's how I got to know and so admire your work. I learned about right to repair. I've done a lot of stuff on consumer protection and transparency. Those are two of my lanes. Uh, and right to repair I had a booth at National Conference of State Legislatures, and I always spend time in the exhibit hall, and I learned so much from exhibitors. And there was a person there for Right to Repair, and we talked, and I decided right then and there that I was going to sponsor legislation. And you were one of the people who was a great teacher for me. And in 1 year, which isn't always the way it works, we passed Right to Repair powered wheelchairs. So you've done not only wheelchairs, but you've done consumer electronics, and you just referenced farm equipment, ag equipment. So why don't you talk about your journey and how you were first introduced to the issues?
Uh, well, the governor, yeah, Jared Polis, he is a tech guy, and he also considers himself to be a bit of a libertarian in some respect, and having the freedom to be able to have more accountability of your own devices.
You know what, Representative, let me interrupt you for a second. Why don't you start by defining what right to repair is? Because it might be intuitive from the name, but maybe it's not to a lot of people.
So over time, a lot of electronics, and if you think back of a lot of devices you would buy, a vacuum cleaner, a television, or something like that, you could go to a repair person that was local, and they could
Hmm.
get parts, and they could do things, and it was a lot more repairable. But as the technology got more and more uh, digital, almost everything now, if you take it apart and you take a piece out of it, the machine doesn't agree with the new part you put in, and then functionality declines, or it can be totally taken away.
And
And
the
that
warranty
is
can be invalidated because
right,
then,
right.
right. Hmm.
So the right to repair is a movement in some ways of trying to say we don't want to have to throw away technology
Hmm.
because it's not possible to fix it, or it's too expensive to fix it, or you have to bring it to the manufacturer.
Hmm.
They made this throwaway electronics movement happen, and this is to fight back on that, to say build these devices in ways that's more repairable, that it's not just the manufacturer that can do it, and that either I have the ability to get the parts and the tools or
Hmm.
a third party can do it. And that has been, especially in the farm equipment and the wheelchairs, has been a huge issue for those folks.
Yes. What sort of pushback did you get? What was an argument against it that you really had to acknowledge and maybe even compromise?
There were a few things that we ended up carving out in different ways. We limited it very closely for the ag equipment to not include construction equipment. Uh, and it all comes down to the different groups, the different trade groups that we're going after. Because when I ran my bill the first time, it included just about everything.
Mm,
And when you're going up against everybody,
yes.
it's a very, very hard battle to win. So we narrowed it to the wheelchairs
Mm-hmm.
at first,
Mm-hmm.
smaller group to fight.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about safety as an issue,
Mm-hmm.
because well, what if they do it wrong and then the wheelchair goes out of control? Like people don't want that to happen. They're going to be careful about that.
Sure.
But it's not only just maybe they don't want to do it themselves. Maybe a third party person who can do it and is
Right.
trusted and they live closer by.
Yep.
Because in Colorado, we have a mountain range that divides our state. And
Mm-hmm.
some of those people want to make the trip out to fix it from Denver, and it takes a long time and they have to
Sure.
wait.
Sure.
That's been an issue. And so that's a lot of things. I mean, with the electronics, they said all sorts of fantastical things that the internet would be compromised and
Oh,
national security will be, all these things. And I
with a
was like,
straight
well,
face.
show me that this is going to happen, and I will
Yeah.
help to mitigate that. But unless you can tell me and show me, I'm not going to believe you blindly.
Right, right. Crazy. So when I committed to doing Right to Repair, I just want to give a shout out to my friend and colleague, Delegate Aaron Kaufman, who uses a wheelchair, and he agreed before I finished the sentence. He said, "Yes, I'll sponsor the bill," and it was. He had personal life stories from his brother, his late brother, and from his own experiences. And then I brought in others. And when legislators hear from real people with real problems, folks who want to get to their jobs or a doctor's appointment or a family reunion, I think it makes it reality for them.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
so so the farm equipment, didn't the big ag folks come out against it and say, no, 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 we want you to send your tractors and stuff to us?
Yeah, yeah. So there's lots of different groups of farming communities that are together. There's the Farm Bureau, and then there's more of the local growers associations which are really purely farming, farmer related. They're only farmers in those groups. But the Farm Bureau is a group of farmers and the trade groups of the tech companies and
Hmm.
the manufacturers. The Farm Bureau, because they were conflicted on the issue, they were supposedly neutral, but they weren't really that neutral on it.
Hmm.
They were trying to push this whole MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding. This
Hmm.
is like a legal agreement to say that we'll do this for everyone, because we want to make a compromise, and it's kind
Yeah,
of a way to get out of having a legislative fix.
right,
And they were pushing that, but the farming groups were pushing, no, this is not good enough. You're trying to still withhold things from us, and
right.
it became a bit of a fight.
Hmm. Well, just you referenced it briefly, but it's also about local jobs because rather than
Yes.
needing to ship your equipment far away and pay for all that, and the environmental impact of the travel and all that, you can go to the small business around the corner down the street. So, uh, electronic equipment. Okay, talk to me. Why would Samsung or Apple or something want to trust the you break it, we fix it little shops around the corner? Why would they think that's okay?
I mean, most of them, they don't want you to do that, and they built in a lot of different ways for those kinds of repairs to limit what you can do it the device afterwards.
Hmm.
And if you limit the device's operability, you don't want to get it fixed there. You'll spend the extra money to go get it done by the manufacturer. But
Or throw
then,
it out and give it up and
or
start again.
or just get a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so what's the answer? How did you get it passed?
Well, there's this concept called parts pairing, and parts pairing is this concept to say that if you have the motherboard, the main part of the phone, and then the pieces that plug into it,
Hmm.
if the main board doesn't recognize the parts that are plugged into it, then it won't do anything. Sometimes it'll just say, "I can't function anymore because you put something into the board that doesn't belong here."
Hmm.
So they have all of these checks to make sure that they're genuine parts and that they belong there. And there are some valid reasons for that. That you don't want to have something that's like a malware part in your phone.
Sure.
Uh, but if you're that concerned about it, then you're going to go get it done by the people who you trust the most. But if you're just a regular person off the street and you need a screen put back on your phone, you just want it done as fast as possible so you can go on with your life and do it
Yes.
do it cheaply.
Is there an avenue of right to repair that you haven't sponsored or passed yet that if you had a magic wand, what would you want to add?
Uh, Well, I mean, I think the big one now is cars because a
Yeah.
lot of the cars are very computerized. And it's
Hmm.
kind of the same problem that ran into tractors because tractors were so computerized that even one little part that was not functioning could make the whole machine not function. And
Hmm.
then you would need the manufacturer authorized person to come out, and it's very expensive. It takes a lot of time. Maybe they're not available and you have things to do. Uh, but with cars, they collect a lot of data from you,
Yes.
and sometimes you don't know, or they force you to collect the data if you want to use certain aspects of the car, which I
Hmm.
think is wrong.
Hmm.
Uh, Especially if that wasn't the way it was when you bought the car, that some update forces you to have that data be given out. Uh, I have I'm trying to really think a lot about data these days and how it's
Yes.
being used because that goes back into the AI conversation
Hmm.
because when people have a lot of information about you and then they analyze it with AI, they can come up with all different ways of how to track you and understand what your buying habits are to sell you stuff and
Yeah.
it can be really it can work detrimentally to you a lot.
Yes. So, as you begin the process of wrapping up your 8 year tenure in the House of Representatives in Colorado, what are some of your proudest accomplishments? We already talked about Right to Repair, which is amazing, and you are a respected national leader on that. Anything else you want to give a shout out to that you've done?
Well, the AI regulation policy was one of the policies that I was a sponsor of. That was the first in the nation to do that. We passed a law in Colorado that gave everyone in the state a free mental health wellness exam, like a physical, that was free of charge to get people in the door. Sometimes that
Mm-hmm.
barrier of the copay was something that prevented people from going and getting the help that they needed. Anytime you can remove a barrier, it's always a good thing.
So, the
And we
cost
did a
or
lot of
the
protections.
stigma, sorry, the
Yes.
stigma of
Yeah,
mental health. They don't know what it is, and so they think it's scary or awful or something. But
exactly.
please continue.
And I did the shield law for trans people getting care, the doctors providing that, as well as for people seeking abortions. And this was when there were a lot of laws coming out that were trying to chase after people, get information, and try to punish anyone who was getting care outside of the state that they live in. And it's none of their business what people
Absolutely.
do someplace else, and we should be protecting them.
Speaking of chasing after people, one of I was going to say the most disgusting thing, but I will say one of because it's a long list. Uh, One of the most disgusting things is the immigration raids. Colorado, like Maryland, has a very ethnically diverse population. What's happening out there, and what are you doing or thinking about doing?
We passed a law this past session to uh, make sure that everyone knows where cooperation with federal agents is appropriate and where it's not.
Mm-hmm.
We made sure that you have to have a warrant to get the information, and we've had a few instances even after the bill went into effect that the governor was authorizing some information to be released, and someone in the office sued to stop it from happening because they believed it wasn't the case. So there's a lot of very nuanced things that we have to walk through because we have the right under the Constitution to have rights as a state and to be independent of what the federal government's doing in our state. But we have to walk a fine line there, and we're trying to make sure that that's something we're fighting back about. We're very concerned about all the masked people
Oh
doing
my God.
this, these raids. I mean, who are these people? Are they really who they say they even are? We don't
Mm-hmm.
even know. If
Mm-hmm.
they're not showing us any identification or we can even identify their face, how do we know that
Right.
these aren't people that are just, up to no good, that
Right.
are just taking advantage of the situation? We don't know.
Yes, yes. Horrible. Before we start to wrap up, I'm gonna ask you, only because it's one of the things I work on. Denver, which I know is not your district. Denver has an amazing 311 system that is nationally known. And I was lucky enough to spend time out there and visit with Laura Dunwoody and see her space. Anything as Maryland continues to work towards a statewide 311. Anything that you've experienced or learned about that you want to give us some coaching on? And I
Well,
should identify 311 is non-emergency government assistance. So too many people call 911 because they just don't know whom else to contact. And so 311 in Denver is really one of the real role models.
I mean, if you have a problem where there's a pothole or a water main break, something you
Yep.
want to report
Yep.
quickly to get attention to it, it's a really good way to do that. Denver has the unique ability that they have a lot of income because of a lot of the industries that they have in the city. They
Hmm.
have the resources to do these kinds of things because it's only as good as the people who are there to answer the calls. If there's a long wait time or someone has to call back or something, you don't really get that immediate attention. So I think that the resources that get put into these programs
Hmm.
really can make it effective and useful because if it's not, they're not going to use it. And if they're not going to use it, it doesn't become effective. So it has to be executed well.
Right. Yeah. True. Agreed. Uh, Anything else you want to talk about before we shift and wrap up?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just very concerned about what's coming down with all of these policies from the federal government and all the folks that are going to lose their health care. And I think it's notable to remind everyone that many of these healthcare coverage rollbacks are going to happen in 2027.
Yes. After
And
the. Hmm.
yeah, because they need to know that this is not going to be the fault of whoever might be holding the power at that time, that these are being put into effect now,
Hmm.
and that the people to blame for it are really the ones who are in power now. And it's
True.
not going to be anybody else who might be in charge later on.
Well said. Thank you. So, Representative Brianna Titone, thank you so much. It is time for the Fast Five. Five quick questions, five quick answers to let folks get to know you a little better. Question number one. Other than your phone, what is the tech gadget or app that you just can't live without?
Oh, I probably my headphones, my smart headphones.
Okay. What makes them smart?
They have all the little touch features, and you can talk to it and things like that.
Okay. Question number two. What is a book that has inspired you?
Uh, Oh, I spend so much time reading other things than books. I don't have something right off the top of my head. But my grandfather wrote a book about his history, and I remember when he was writing it, and that's always always been an inspirational person to me, and I learned a lot about how to be a good human being from him.
Nice. Question number three. I was told a million years ago that women need an anthem, a song that inspires us, lifts us up, empowers us. What's an anthem that you turn to when you need an extra boost of energy?
Uh, I like the Pink Pony Club song. Because it's about joy, and having joy in our lives is important because it feels like everyone's trying to take that away from us.
Amen for that. Question number four. What's the best advice you've ever been given? And by whom? From whom?
Um, well, I mean, someone once told me that it's difficult to interact with the public at times because they don't always understand everything that's happening. And
Hmm.
I learned that in my lifeguarding class because when you're dealing with the public who is just at the pool, and you have to be their guide and leader in that role, and you just have to take it with a grain of salt that they don't know everything, and you have to be careful about that.
Yes. Crap. We have to do a detour because you have been a volunteer firefighter since you were 16. Talk briefly about that.
Yeah, I joined the fire department as a junior firefighter at 16, and you roll the hoses up and you carry the ladders and you help do all the things that are not exactly uh, putting the wet stuff on the red stuff, as we like to say. Um, and it set me up to be able to train and have the skills to be ready when I turned 18 to go do the work. And I think it's really important to serve the community, to do any of that work. And that's really where my service to the community comes from, that long-standing tradition.
Absolutely. I mean, it's teamwork, it's leadership, it's courage, it's so many things. It's thank you for your service in that way too. The last question, we're going back to the fast five here. The question that I ask everyone, Colorado Representative Brianna Titone, what is your hidden secret superpower? What is a skill or talent you have, something you're really good at that most folks can't do?
Oh boy. I think I'm just really good at finding the hidden ways through the maze, in a sense. Not exactly like a maze itself, but there's been times where people have come to me after reaching out to other legislators who have turned them down, and then they said, "Hey, can you help us with this?" And I say, "Yes, let's figure it out," and then we do. So I like the fact that there's a challenge and there's a puzzle in a way that we have to figure out, and I'm not afraid to go figure it out and maybe fail, but who cares, right? At least we're trying.
I love that. Well, Representative Titone, thank you so much for your leadership, for your service, for guiding and inspiring me as we passed our right to repair wheelchairs this year in 1 year, which is the way it
Congratulations.
always happens. And best of luck to you in your race for state treasurer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Stay well. Hope to see you.